Dr. Marty here, and we learned how to find the slope of lines or linear functions in our last video, and today we're going to move on to chapter 5.3 or section 5.3, which is graphing using slope-intercept form. It's actually slope-intercept form in general. We're going to find that there's three different forms that we use for lines. The first, and the one that's used most common, is slope-intercept form. Okay, so when we're talking about slope-intercept form, we get an equation that looks like this: y equals mx plus b. And in that equation, m is the slope. That's the slope of the line. Okay, that's the rise over the run. That's how the line changes as it moves. Sorry about the paper moving around. Okay, and then so it's the slope times x plus b. Now, what's b going to be? B is the y-intercept. The y-intercept is where the line crosses the y-axis. That's the vertical axis. So it's the point where x is 0. Now that makes sense, right? Because if our equation is y equals mx plus b, if we make x 0, this is going to disappear. We're going to be left with y equals b. So that means put in x is 0, we're going to get a point on the y-intercept. Okay? So when we're trying to graph using slope-intercept form, there's two steps. The first is to begin at the y-intercept, which is b, and make a point on the y-axis. The second is then to use the slope to graph two more points. Quick reminder, positive slope goes up and to the right, negative slope down to the right, zero slope goes horizontally, and then up and down is undefined. So let's look at two examples of how we could do this. Okay? So example 1 says, can we see that? Zoom in just a little bit so you can see it a little bit better. Example 1 says y equals 2/3 x minus 4. 2/3 x minus 4. Well, our slope, okay, is going to be 2/3. M equals 2/3. Our y-intercept, y equals mx plus b, is going to be negative 4. Note that it's x minus 4. Because it's minus 4, it's negative 4 for b. Okay? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put a point at 0, negative 4. The y-axis is here, so we're going to go down 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're going to put our point. Okay? Then we're going to use our slope. Now in this case, our slope is 2/3. That means we go up 2 for every 3 that we go over. And we're going to put our second point. Up 2, 3 over. Now we have 3 points. Okay? We can come in and we can draw a line that connects all 3. It's going to go past them, and there's going to be an arrow on the end because it continues on. And that is how to graph a line using slope-intercept form. Let's look at example 2. It's going to be very similar. Here, our slope, m equals negative 1/2. Our y-intercept, positive 3. So we go to 0, 1, 2, 3. We put our point. Then we're going to make 2 more points. Okay, using our slope. Well, m equals negative 1/2. So that means we go down 1 for every 2 we go over. Down 1, 2 over. Now got 3 points. We can come in and we can draw our line that goes through the points. So there you go. That's all there is to graphing using slope-intercept form. So let's look at what happens if we have to graph horizontal or vertical lines. Move this up. Okay, so in the case of graphing a horizontal line, the y is constant. Think about it. Horizontal means there's 0 slope. The slope equals 0, so z is 0. So looking at our equation, y equals mx plus b, right? If x equals 0, then we get y equals m times 0 plus b, which is just 0, so y equals b. So y equals our constant, our y-intercept. In this case, our example is y equals 5. So we're going to come up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we just have a horizontal line. In the case of a vertical line, x is constant. This is where the slope is undefined. Here we have x equals negative 3. 1, 2, 3. Line up, line down. Okay, so that's how to graph horizontal and vertical lines. Then we're just going to do a little bit of slope-intercept form practice. A little bit of slope-intercept form practice to round this off. Okay, first thing we're going to say is Given an equation, identify the slope and the y-intercept. Trying to keep this constant. So y equals 2/3 x plus 2. Remember, y equals mx plus b, right? So our slope is 2/3, okay? So m equals 2/3. Our y-intercept is 2. B equals 2. Over here. Now note, this is the same as 1 over 1. Or over 1. Sorry, I wrote a 2. That's so weird. 1 over 1, right? 1 times x is just going to give you x, okay? So our slope, m, equals 1. Y-intercept, once again, is 2. Finally, over here, we've got m equals -3. And is there a b term? No. So that means b equals 0. Cool. Now, coming down here, it says, write an equation of a line in slope-intercept form, or slope-intercept, given the slope and the y-intercept. Okay? So here we have, I'm going to keep sticking with my colors, the slope is 1/2, b is -2. So we have y equals 1/2 x minus 2. Our slope m goes in here, y equals mx plus b, y equals 1/2 x minus 2. Go on to example 2. Y equals, our slope is 0.6, 0.6 x plus 0.8, and then y equals 3, m is 3, x minus 7. That's how you can write an equation of a line in slope-intercept given the slope and the y-intercept. Finally, let's look about, if we're given an equation of a line, how can we write, if we're given a graph, how can we write the equation of a line? Well, I'm going to give you a graph, okay? It's going to look like this right here, okay? So, what do we need to do? Well, we need to start by finding out what the slope is. Okay, so to find the slope, we're going to pick a point. Okay, start with where it, we're going to start where I'm sorry. Want to make sure I got this right. So we'll start with a point here. Okay, our y-intercept b equals 2.5, or 5/2. And then let's figure out what our slope is. So we're going, let's start with this point, which is 1, 3. We're going to go up 1 and over 2. So that means our slope equals 1/2. All right, so we have a slope equals 1/2, our y-intercept equals 5/2. We get y equals 1/2 x plus 5/2. Sorry, that was a little bit confusing. I drew the line differently than I had planned on, and so it took me a second to make sure I was doing it right. I apologize for that, but you know, no one's perfect, and these videos are long, and so I wanted to make sure I got that right. So that would give you, right, y equals, or sorry, for the b value, the y-intercept, it's at 2.5. Our slope is 1/2, so we go up 1 for every 2 we go over. Okay. Example number 2. Try to get this one right. Okay. We go from here like that. Okay. Our b value is at 4. Okay. So b equals 4. Our slope, we're going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and go over 2. So we're down 5 over 2. So m equals negative 5 halves. So if b is 4, m is negative 5 halves. We get y equals negative 5 halves x plus 4. Are there any questions? Whoops, I should make sure you can see that. I apologize for that. B equals 4, m equals negative 5 halves, y equals negative 5 halves x plus 4. If you have any questions, come and see me, and we can talk about it. If not, that is how to use slope-intercept form to understand a line.